I never imagined my own sister would turn into my worst enemy. For years, I worked quietly behind the scenes, paying all the bills, covering her expensive college fees, and keeping our home running while they lived comfortably without asking how the money appeared. But the moment I said no to one of her outrageous demands, everything changed. My sister demanded $17,000 for a luxury picnic with her friends. When I refused, she did something I never expected. She burned all my expensive dresses in a cruel act of revenge. But what she didn't know was that I had proof of everything, every dollar I spent, every sacrifice I made. She thought she could destroy me. Instead, she opened the door to her own downfall. This is the story of how I finally stood up for myself, exposed the truth, and watched my greedy sister and mother fall apart, while I built a new, peaceful life. My name is Sandra, and I'm 27 years old. For years, I've been the one secretly keeping my family together. After my father passed away, the financial responsibility fell on me. My younger sister Vanessa is 25. She never really worked a day in her life. My mother always spoiled her, while I worked hard to cover our household bills, grocery expenses, and even Vanessa's college tuition. But they never cared to know where the money was coming from. They just expected everything to be handled. One Saturday morning, as I was having my coffee before work, Vanessa came into the kitchen with a wide smile on her face. Right away, I knew she wanted something. "Sandra," she said sweetly, "I need $17,000. I nearly dropped my coffee cup. $17,000? For what? "I want to plan a luxury picnic trip with my friends," she said like it was no big deal. "We'll rent a private yacht, hire a personal chef, and have live music. You know, something special." I stared at her in shock. "Vanessa, that's way too much money for a picnic. Do you realize how expensive that is? I can't just hand you $17,000 like that." Her sweet tone vanished instantly. She crossed her arms and glared at me. "You're always so selfish. You act like you're the only one who works hard around here. You're my sister, Sandra. You're supposed to help me." I stayed calm. "I've already helped you so much, Vanessa. I pay for your college, your books, your car insurance, and this house's bills. This request is too much." Vanessa's voice got louder. "You have the money. You just don't want me to enjoy my life. You're jealous because I still have friends and a social life." Before I could respond, our mother walked in and immediately took Vanessa's side like she always did. "Sandra, why are you being so difficult? It's just a little money for your sister. She deserves to enjoy her youth." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "A little money? It's $17,000, Mom." My mother waved her hand as if it was nothing. "You have always acted like you're better than us because you have a job. You should support your sister. That's what family does." I looked at both of them and felt my chest tighten. No matter how much I sacrificed, it was never enough for them. That moment was the first time I realized I had allowed them to take advantage of me for too long. I shook my head and firmly said, "No, I won't give you the money." Vanessa's face turned red with anger. She stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind her. But I had no idea how far she would go to punish me for saying no. A few days passed after the argument. I thought maybe Vanessa had calmed down. But I was wrong. Very wrong. One evening, I stayed late at work because of an important project. When I finally got home, I noticed a strange smell in the air. It was strong, like burned fabric. My stomach dropped. I rushed to my bedroom, but as soon as I opened the door, my worst fear came true. My closet was empty. Everything was gone. My expensive dresses, shoes, bags, everything I had worked so hard to buy for years, were gone. The only thing left was the heavy smell of smoke coming from the backyard. I ran outside. There, in the middle of the yard, was a large pile of ashes still smoking. Some pieces of burned fabric were still visible. My beautiful dresses, worth over $30,000, had been destroyed. Standing nearby was Vanessa, arms crossed, with a satisfied smirk on her face. "You should have given me the money," she said coldly. "Since you didn't, I thought you wouldn't need all these expensive dresses either." I was speechless. My hands shook with anger, but I kept my voice steady. How could you do this, Vanessa? Do you even understand what you've done? Vanessa just rolled her eyes. You're rich anyway. You can buy new ones. Maybe next time you'll think twice before refusing me. At that moment, my mother stepped outside. But instead of scolding Vanessa, she looked at me and said in an annoyed voice, Sandra, it's just clothes. Don't make a big deal out of it. My heart sank. My own mother was defending her. I quietly turned around and went back inside. That night, while sitting alone in my empty room, I made a decision. This was the final time they would use me. What they didn't know was that I held the real power in this house. And very soon, they would learn the truth. The next morning, I woke up with a new sense of calm. For years, I had allowed them to treat me like a personal ATM. I paid all the bills, handled the mortgage, covered Vanessa's full college tuition, and even bought groceries. But they never once asked where the money came from or how hard I worked to keep everything running. Until now, I had kept it a secret, but not anymore. I started gathering every single receipt, bank statement, and payment record I had carefully saved over the years. There were folders full of proof. College tuition payments under my name, utility bills paid every month, grocery store receipts, car insurance policies, mortgage payments. By the afternoon, I had everything ready. That evening, I called a family meeting in the living room. My mother and Vanessa sat across from me, both looking annoyed. Vanessa rolled her eyes. What is this, Sandra? Another lecture? I stayed calm.
No, Vanessa.
This time, I just want to show you the truth. I laid out the thick stack of documents on the table. For years, I've been paying for this entire household, not just my share, but all of it. Your college tuition, your car insurance, the electric bills, the mortgage, everything. You never even asked how it was being paid. My mother frowned. Don't lie to us. Your father left enough money for this family. I shook my head. That money ran out long ago. Dad trusted me to handle the finances. I've been working full-time while you both lived comfortably. Vanessa's face paled as she flipped through the papers. The truth was written on every page. She couldn't deny it anymore. You're lying, she shouted, but her voice trembled. No, Vanessa, I said firmly. You burned over $30,000 worth of my personal belongings. And after everything I've done for you, you dared to accuse me of being selfish. My mother stayed silent, her face stiff with embarrassment. I stood up and looked them both in the eye. Starting today, I won't pay another dime for this house or for you. You are on your own now. I walked out, leaving the paperwork on the table behind me. But this was only the beginning. Vanessa's anger was about to reach a whole new level, and she would soon make a dangerous move. Days passed after I cut them off. I packed my bags and moved into a small apartment across town. For the first time in years, I finally felt free. No more endless bills, no more guilt, and no more manipulation. But Vanessa wasn't done. One afternoon, as I was settling into my new apartment, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a serious voice spoke on the other end. Miss Sandra, this is Detective Harris from the local police department. We need to speak with you regarding a theft report filed against you. My heart dropped. A theft report? What theft? Your sister, Vanessa, has filed a complaint accusing you of stealing money from the family account. We need you to come down to the station for questioning. I couldn't believe it. She actually tried to frame me. I calmly replied, No problem, officer. I have full documentation to prove my innocence. I gathered every piece of evidence once again, the bank statements, receipts, and signed documents. At the police station, I handed over everything to Detective Harris. He carefully reviewed the files for nearly an hour. When he finished, he leaned back in his chair and looked at me seriously. Miss Sandra, based on what you've provided, it's clear that not only have you not stolen anything, but you've been financially supporting your entire family for years. I nodded. That's exactly what I've been doing. The detective shook his head. Your sister filed a false police report, which is a serious crime. We'll be investigating her for filing false charges and possible fraud. I left the station feeling relieved, but also furious. Vanessa thought she could destroy me, but instead, she had dug a hole for herself. Soon, the truth would catch up to her. A few weeks later, Vanessa received a summons to appear in court. The police investigation had exposed everything. Not only had she filed a false report, but they also found evidence of her manipulating financial records and attempting to access my personal bank accounts illegally. In court, Vanessa stood before the judge, her face pale and full of fear. My lawyer presented the mountain of evidence. All my payments for her tuition, the house, utilities, car insurance, groceries, everything. He even showed proof of the burned dresses and their total value. The judge was not amused. "Miss Vanessa," the judge said sternly, "you falsely accused your sister of theft after years of her financial support. On top of that, you destroyed property worth over $30,000. Your actions were cruel, selfish, and criminal." Vanessa tried to cry and act like the victim, but nobody believed her anymore. The judge continued, "You are ordered to pay your sister $50,000 in compensation, covering the destroyed property, emotional distress, legal fees, and damages. In addition, you will serve 200 hours of mandatory community service, and you will remain on probation for 2 years." Vanessa broke down, crying in the courtroom. My mother sat quietly behind her, unable to meet my eyes. I remained calm, standing tall. For the first time, I felt justice had finally been served. But this wasn't the end. The damage to their lives was just beginning. Without my financial help, they were about to face harsh realities they never imagined. After the court ruling, everything started to fall apart for Vanessa and my mother. Without my support, the unpaid bills began piling up fast. The mortgage company threatened foreclosure on the house. The electricity was cut off more than once. My mother, who had always looked down on me, was now forced to borrow money from distant relatives and neighbors just to keep food on the table. Vanessa, once the spoiled college girl who lived like a princess, was kicked out of school. The university canceled her enrollment due to unpaid tuition and unpaid fees. Her friends slowly disappeared once the money dried up. The fancy lifestyle she loved so much was gone overnight. One day, I received a desperate message from my mother. "Sandra, please come home. We made mistakes. We need your help. Your sister is suffering." I read her message but didn't reply. For years, I had been their safety net, their solution to every problem. But not anymore. I had my own life now, free from their manipulation and emotional abuse. Meanwhile, Vanessa struggled to pay the court-ordered compensation. She sold most of her designer handbags, jewelry, and even her car just to cover part of the debt. But it wasn't enough. She had to take a part-time job, something she never imagined doing, just to avoid more legal trouble. Their lives had flipped completely. As for me, I was finally living peacefully in my own apartment. I had started saving money for my own future, and for the first time, I wasn't carrying anyone else's burden. My hard work was finally building something for myself. But fate had even bigger plans for me. A year passed since I left that toxic house behind. My life had completely changed, and for the better. With the money I was finally able to save, I started a small online business selling handmade jewelry and custom-designed accessories. What began as a simple hobby quickly grew into a full-time business. Orders started pouring in, and soon I was making more money than I ever had while supporting my family. I rented a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood. My evenings were peaceful, my weekends were filled with friends, and I finally had the freedom to enjoy life, something I never thought was possible while living under my mother and sister's control. One afternoon, as I was packing orders for my customers, I received another text message from my mother. "Sandra, we lost the house. Vanessa can't find a good job. Please help us. We're sorry." I stared at the message for a moment, feeling nothing but cold emptiness. There was a time when a message like this would have broken my heart. But not anymore. They had pushed me too far for too long. I simply deleted the message and went back to packing my orders, smiling to myself. They were facing the consequences of their own choices, choices that had nothing to do with me anymore. Later that evening, as I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, I thought back to everything that had happened. The emotional abuse, the financial exploitation, the betrayal, and finally, my freedom. I had lost a toxic family, but I had gained peace, independence, and happiness. And honestly, I wouldn't trade that for anything.